United States-led coalition victory coalition. Iraqi National Congress Peshmerga Iraq make supported by Syria Libya United States 192,000 personnel United Kingdom 45,000 troops Australia 2,000 troops Poland 194 Special Forces Peshmerga 70,000 Iraqi National Congress 620 Iraqi Armed Forces 538,000 active 650,000 reserves 2,000 tanks 3,700 APCs and IFVs 2,300 artillery pieces 300 combat aircraft Special Iraqi Republican Guard 12,000 Iraqi Republican Guard 70,000 to 75,000 Fidayin Saddam 30,000 Arab volunteers 6,000 Mehdi Army 1,600 to 2,800 total 238 plus killed 1,000 plus wounded total 7,600 to 45,000 killed estimated Iraqi civilian fatalities. Invasion post-invasion insurgency sectarian violence insurgency main phase later phase The 2003 invasion of Iraq was the first stage of the Iraq War. The invasion phase began on the 19th of March 2003 was established as the first of several successive transitional governments leading up to the first Iraqi parliamentary election in January 2005. U.S. military forces later remained in Iraq until the withdrawal in 2011. The U.S.-led coalition sent 177,194 troops into Iraq during the initial invasion phase, which lasted from the 19th of March to the 1st of May 2003. About 130,000 arrived from the US alone, with about 45,000 British soldiers, 2,000 Australian soldiers, and 194 Polish soldiers. 36 other countries were involved in its aftermath. In preparation for the invasion, 100,000 US troops assembled in Kuwait by the 18th of February. The coalition forces also received support from the Peshmerga in Iraqi Kurdistan. According to US President George W. Bush and UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, the coalition aimed to disarm Iraq of weapons of mass destruction, to end Saddam Hussein's support for terrorism, and to free the Iraqi people. Others place a much greater emphasis on the impact of the September 11 attacks, on the role this played in changing US strategy calculations, and the rise of the freedom agenda. According to Blair, the trigger was Iraq's failure to take a final opportunity to disarm itself of alleged nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons that US and British officials called an immediate and intolerable threat to world peace. In a January 2003 CBS poll, 64% of Americans had approved of military action against Iraq. However, 63% wanted Bush to find a diplomatic solution rather than go to war, and 62% believed the threat of terrorism directed against the US would increase due to war. The invasion of Iraq was strongly opposed by some long-standing US allies, including the governments of France, Canada, Germany, and New Zealand. Their leaders argued that there was no evidence of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and that invading that country was not justified in the context of UNMOVIC's the 12th of February 2003 report. About 5,000 chemical warheads, shells or aviation bombs were discovered during the Iraq War, but these had been built and abandoned earlier in Saddam Hussein's rule before the 1991 Gulf War. The discoveries of these chemical weapons did not support the government's invasion rationale. On the 15th of February 2003, a month before the invasion, there were worldwide protests against the Iraq War, including a rally of 3 million people in Rome, which the Guinness Book of Records listed as the largest ever anti-war rally. According to the French academic Dominique Renier, between the 3rd of January and the 12th of April 2003, 36 million people across the globe took part in almost 3,000 protests against the Iraq War. The invasion was preceded by an airstrike on the presidential palace in Baghdad on the 20th of March 2003. The following day, coalition forces launched an incursion into Basra province from their massing point close to the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border. while special forces launched an amphibious assault from the Persian Gulf to secure Basra and the surrounding petroleum fields. The main invasion army moved into southern Iraq, occupying the region and engaging in the Battle of Nasiriyah on the 23rd of March. Massive airstrikes across the country and against Iraqi command and control threw the defending army into chaos and prevented an effective resistance. On the 26th of March, the 173rd Airborne Brigade was airdropped near the northern city of Kirkuk, where they joined forces with Kurdish rebels and fought several actions against the Iraqi army to secure the northern part of the country. The main body of coalition forces continued their drive into the heart of Iraq and met with little resistance. Most of the Iraqi military was quickly defeated and the coalition occupied Baghdad on the 9th of April. Other operations occurred against pockets of the Iraqi army, including the capture and occupation of Kirkuk on the 10th of April, and the attack on and capture of Tikrit on the 15th of April. Iraqi President Saddam Hussein and the central leadership went into hiding as the coalition forces completed the occupation of the country. On the 1st of May, President George W. Bush declared an end to major combat operations. This ended the invasion period and began the period